Welcome to food therapy. So, food therapy is so important. It seems so simple, right? Like what we put in our body, what we're eating, our diet. But in Eastern medicine and acupuncture, Chinese medicine, food therapy is actually considered a prescription. So, a patient would come in, get their pulse read, their tongue read, they would get their diagnosis, their Eastern medicine diagnosis. So, like qi deficiency with yang excess or kidney jing deficit, like this is fertility kind of archetype, like jing essence deficiency or tax jing, nourish qi. Like you would get a very specific diagnosis and given foods, like a list of foods to pick from to eat and incorporate into your diet. So food was seen as like herbal medicine or like medicine, like food was thy medicine. And depending on your situation or what you wanted to work on, you would have to add a percentage of certain foods, vegetables, meats, fruits, etc. to help bring up the areas in need. So that is kind of the way we're going to be looking at food and diet, and specifically for getting pregnant. So food therapy, drowning in information but starving for wisdom. There is a dizzying amount of information and misinformation handed out to people around what diet is best for fertility, what to do, what not to do, what to take, what not to take. This makes the process even more tense and stressful. Here, we will combine Chinese medicine advice with medical research to provide the straightforward powerhouses in food that will expedite nourishment and cover all essential categories involved in fertility. So I think we can all relate to this. I certainly can. Like I will open Instagram or Facebook or talk to somebody and they're like, oh my God, I'm trying this new diet. Or, oh, did you hear that this is actually really bad for you? Or, oh my gosh, like I'm going to do this cleanse and this is for fertility. Or my IVF doctor told me this or this and that. And there's just so many diets out there and it's actually really like fear invoking. It's like, oh, like, which one is the right one, or what I'm doing is wrong, or I'm eating this way because it works for me, but oh, like it's messing my health up. And that's just not the way I think we're meant to see it. We're all so different. We all have different intentions in our body, different constitutions, different weaknesses. We're different gardens, different elements of things that are strong or weak, and not one diet works for everyone. We have different blood types. We have different blood sugar, like stable issues. We have different genetics, epigenetics. So if anyone comes to you and they're just like, this is the diet that you're supposed to do and what you're doing is wrong, I just find that to be kind of disproven at this point, because I have seen thousands of patients and I give food therapy. So I give them specific foods to increase and maybe like a diet that fits their archetype. But there is some patients that already come to me and they have been carnivore for 5 years because they tried it, they were desperate, and they healed miraculously from things that nothing else even touched. So carnivore diet worked for them. And then there's patients who come to me, like this woman was just doing like keto and just kind of intuitive eating all her life. And then she was just really sick, like got really sick with an autoimmune disease. She did pure plant-based, like plant-based, vegan, no dairy, whatever, like what that looks like. And she healed miraculously from like all the things that nothing worked. And most of my patients who come to me, we cover like a category called intuitive eating. So it's just increasing the intake of good things and the food therapy items that will help their specific case and lowering the bad. So again, like drowning in information, starving for wisdom, we're coming at this from wisdom. We are coming at this of, we're just going to increase what heals us, healing foods, like balanced healing foods, avoiding things that hurt us. That's diet. That's what diet should be. In ancient times, like you just eat what's available to you and things that have life in them, and you're okay. So we're looking at this not from information, but from like wisdom, like what works for our life, what can we actually incorporate that's stress-free and something that we can be consistent with. So just to set the tone, food therapy is not exactly a diet, or you have to do it this way or not. And don't let anybody stress you out with diet and what you should or should not be doing, because we're all different. So preparing for pregnancy begins with the intent to support yourself physically with abundant nutrients. So what goes into making a baby? Every aspect of reproduction requires abundant energy and materials that are derived from foods. So estrogen and progesterone depend on well-digested healthy fats, amino acids, protein, vitamins, and minerals for their creation, absorption, production, etc. Sex hormones need fiber and natural detoxifiers from foods to help things move in and out. Helps the liver clean up and support synthesizing work. What this means is, like, let's say your estrogen has been released and it's floating through the body and it works its way out through the liver. We want to make sure that it truly leaves the body so that the next wave of hormones that come in don't accidentally run into the old estrogen. We want the hormones to come and go at their appropriate time and not continue to float through the body and circulate through the body when their job is done, and that is the liver. So the natural foods, fibers, detoxifiers from foods, increasing the antioxidants, which we'll talk about, that helps move those out and synthesize out the old hormones. So very important with fertility and making a baby. A plush lining, so thick, happy lining that is fortified with iron and minerals. Blood quality, so this is the most important. So the blood quality, the nutrient assimilation and pregnancy retention. I'll say that again. Nutrient assimilation and pregnancy retention depends on the health and warmth of the spleen yang, and spleen qi. So this is the spleen's ability from the food digesting in the stomach, nutrients to the spleen, and the spleen is happy, warm, open, able to take those nutrients from what you're eating and put it into your blood so that it can actually reach your uterus, your lining, and your fetus, your baby. That helps with the pregnancy retention so that the embryo is growing, it's eating as much as it wants to eat, and it has there's your prenatal, which covers the basic, but bioavailability from food is actually what makes the nutrients from your prenatal absorb deeply and do their job. So the nutrient absorption, assimilation, and the quality of your blood and how much nutrients is in your blood is so important with what it takes to make a baby and hold a baby. The egg quality and the membrane integrity, so the surrounding membrane that keeps the egg strong and happy and it can last a long time, depends on amino acids, so the building blocks of protein and well-absorbed protein. So you can eat all the protein you want, but if it's not absorbed properly or digest properly to make it into your blood, into your muscles, into your tissue, what's the point of all those protein shakes and intake of high protein, which seems to be sneaking into everything nowadays, micronutrients and fats. So the egg quality, membrane integrity depends on amino acids, proteins, micronutrients, and fats. So what you eat becomes the building blocks to your baby. So simple enough, right? Everything we eat, digest in the stomach, breaks down into spleen, into tiny, tiny little cells of particles and nutrients that are distributed into all crevices and corners of our body, organs, skin, etc. So making the intentional choice to put quality whole foods, unprocessed foods, alone will give your baby a strong start in building a healthy, strong constitution. It is the ultimate hack to becoming pregnant, staying pregnant, and even contributes to birth and postpartum experience. So just making the choice to put in healthy, just good foods, food that is alive, food that you would find in the wild, as a primitive person, just that alone is it. That's it. Just putting in more good, whole, like unbroken down, unprocessed foods is number one. So that alone, if you can do that 80% of the time, amazing. You're doing better than most of the population. So like, it's so easy, very, very easy. Most important when it comes to diet, do not get too, number one, I wrote these down. I tell every patient this. This is like so important. Number one, do not get too heady about it. There is no one perfect diet. Opt for more warm, nourishing foods that are easy to digest, like soups, stews, high-quality meats, cooked vegetables. Avoid cold, raw, icy foods or drink in excess. So that's number one. Number two, intuitive eating. Use your intuition and simply put in more good things you resonate with. So you're at the grocery store, just be intentional about it. Maybe look up recipes ahead of time and like execute recipes. If you do like eat something not so good, just eat something good next to balance it out. Intuitive eating, when we really tap into our body and like what feels good to our body, you're not starving your body or eating things that like you don't have any appetite to and it's like miserable. Like that's not going to digest well, right? Or you get stomach ache. Intuitive eating, it sounds so simple and kind of like hippy dippy, but just eat what makes you feel good. Not like the greasy fried dopamine good, but like, oh, I feel like I had a good diverse nutrient meal and I feel stable and I feel full and I feel like not inflamed or stomachache from this. So intuitive eating, we'll maybe expand on that a little later too, like picking the type of foods that we want to incorporate. A lot of the time you'll enjoy eating the things that you might be deficient in or that actually might be helping one of the categories that you need help in. So that's actually really cool. Like how when you tap into things, like you'll actually enjoy eating some of these healthy things because they're more in tune with what your body wants. Number three, so the biggest thing you can do is to largely eliminate processed foods and unhealthy materials. However, it is more important that you are consuming enough calories. That means making sure that you are full and not starving yourself over eating the wrong things. So breaking that down, you're eating more good things than bad things, right? That's number one. You're just eating more real food, like more unprocessed food than you are eating processed food. But you cannot starve yourself. Like if you're on the go, you're running late for work, you have to go to Starbucks and get that sandwich and that iced coffee. Okay, that is so okay. You have to get calories in. Do not starve yourself. We're trying to make a baby. Like you got to put food in and be nourished. And maybe dinner, you just eat something healthier. You can balance it out. So I don't want you guys, going to your friends like, oh, I just took this course and this acupuncturist told me I can eat like a hamburger for lunch as long as I eat. Like, no, that's not what I mean. But like, there's situations where you have to just be intuitive and smart about it. And like, if you have to eat out, you eat out. If all that's available to you is a pizza for lunch and you're thinking like, do I skip this pizza and just wait for dinner and starve myself and use my adrenaline? No. Be intuitive, eat the pizza, drink a nice glass of water, and then eat a good dinner. So yeah, like eliminate the processed food in your home, in your life, in your habits, but like do not stress over doing the wrong things too much, if that makes sense. Everything's about balance. And like there's no like right or wrong. Food is still food as long as the ratio of the good is higher than the bad. So we're trying to make a baby, we need to stay fed. We just need to stay fed. That's definitely super important for blood sugar and number one as women right now is like keeping our nutrients in general up. Number 4, tap into wild human, as in what would you find and eat in the wild? So like, you're looking in your cupboard, in your fridge, like would you find the item you're about to reach for on a tree, on a bush, rooted in the ground, or from like livestock you've been cultivating? Start thinking like our ancestors. Like if our ancestors saw like a bag of Doritos, I think they would think it's disgusting because they're used to like these putting together their own recipes and like building with the blocks they have access to. There's actually like really funny YouTube videos of like people going to indigenous tribes in Africa and like the rainforest and having them try like Twizzlers and processed foods. And they're just like, this is disgusting. Like, it is. I mean, unless you're used to it and like kind of the dopamine from the MSG that it's like designed to do, it's just an animated food that we need to stay away from. We need to tap into the wild human, like get back into what our ancestors would eat and really hunt for that in the grocery stores and like find recipes that kind of incorporate building blocks together. So you're making a big vitamin versus like, yeah, like something that's really animated and fake and processed and has basically ripped a food apart to the point where it's not even alive anymore, and ripped food apart to the point where it's just like a factory inedible thing that just fills you up. So wild human, whatever that means to you, what would you find in the wild? That's what you should eat. Number 5, the 80-20 rule. So kind of touched on this already. 80% good things, healing foods, food within your food therapy list that is going to help you achieve your goals in your health and benefits your health. 20%. It is okay to have a slice of cake at your friend's birthday if you want to. Have a glass of wine at brunch. Again, like that Starbucks in the morning. You know, if you're in a rush and you have to choose something to eat. 20%, it's okay to live your life and eat things that bring you joy and celebratory things. So if a meal is shared in celebration and love, eat it with that energy. So don't feel guilty, like 80% of your house, 80% of your daily life and like your base core is healthy, intentional foods for your fertility, for your health. That 20%, like you have to go to that wedding and have fun and eat the cake and eat the brownie and celebrate with your friends. As long as you tell your body it's okay and like not guilty about it or like a fear, like, oh, this is going to hurt me. This is going to erase my progress. Like put it in with a good energy, a celebratory energy, a loving energy, sharing with your friends energy. The body will assimilate it okay. The toxins, it's going to come right out. And your 80% is going to cover the majority of the restorative and like the regenerative goal that we're aiming for. There is no such thing as punishment or having conception taken away from you or failing. We only put these limitations on ourselves. Nature and the rules of the universe are much grander. So if you don't get pregnant this month and you think back and you're like, oh, well, I had that margarita with my friend for her birthday and it was so much fun, but gosh, did I not get pregnant because I drank that margarita? You start spiraling out and blaming yourself. That is not how this works. That margarita is not more powerful than the spark of creation and your biology. You do not get punished. Like God does not punish us for things. That's just not how it works. For us to think that's how it works puts a little too much power in ourselves versus the way the universe has a bigger plan for us. So like definitely taking the load off ourselves is more medicinal than anything. Like there's girls who go to like, I don't know, Coachella and they're like running around on God knows what, and they're drinking and they're eating like Inside Out burger. And then like, oh no, I'm pregnant. Like there's too much of people who get pregnant on really bad circumstances to prove the case that if you're not being perfect, that you're not going to be granted with pregnancy. This is just expediting. We should be healthy. We should want to be healthy for our kids, even for our aging, for our marriage. Like this is just lifestyle wise, like the way we should be taught to eat and to view food. And in most cultures, we do have this. I feel like United States, the food situation got a little too serious and then too junky. And now we're all trying to find like a baseline again, which I truly believe the 80-20 rule is the baseline. So here is the list. Again, the general, any of you can pick from this list. Anyone with fertility struggles, anyone who wants to get pregnant, someone who wants to get pregnant, who wants to strengthen their fertility, who's ready to be a mom, who's preparing to be a mom, this is a good list. These are the strongest fertility tonics food list, and this is drawn from our prescription textbooks. So like food therapy, we prescribe food based on patients' issues or intention. These are the main, I maybe call like superfoods, dare I say, in fertility and like toning. So Jing, for toning Jing, we like to use bee products. So honey, pollen, if you can tolerate it. Like if you're allergic to any of these, like obviously do not force yourself to eat them. But again, yeah. So Jing is bee products, salmon roe, walnuts, pollen, bone marrow, bone broth, beef kidney, ghee, grass-fed butter, seaweeds and algae, bison, beef, oysters, and nettles, which we have nettle in our tea already, which is awesome. So these specific ones are the top of the top. So like the best you can go for strengthening, preserving, and nourishing toning Jing. So these are all nourishing, building up foods. None of these are like detoxifying or harsh. Again, we want to raise you up. We want to nourish the mother, warm the mother, like get her overflowing with nutrients and Jing, yin, yang, spleen, qi, like all the things overflowing so that the body's like feeling really safe and ready to get pregnant and the hormones are fluctuating and fed. So this is the top of the top of that list, which you can do research and like look for more supplementals, but picking a couple from like, I don't know, a handful of the ones you resonate with to incorporate into your food, awesome. Really, really great. So that's Jing, the Jing list. For Yin, barley, millet, cashews, almonds, sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, sardines in olive oil or water, wild-caught salmon, GMO-free tofu and miso soup, string beans, asparagus, dark-colored beans, so like black beans, pintos, anything with a darker kidney, like darker pigment, blackberries, blueberries, pears, seaweed and algae, fish eggs. Again, Jing has salmon roe, which is salmon eggs. Fish eggs can be like, I guess, caviar or like what they put on the sushi, and eggs in general, ideally pasture raised, like the dark yellow yolk. Yang, so the yang list is cooking anything. So any of these foods, if you cook it for a low temperature for a long time, so like a stew or a like nice long cooked soup with any of these ingredients, shallots, cinnamon, chili powder, garlic, onion, chicken, lamb, venison, shrimp, pistachio, raspberry, and quinoa. For qi, warm water with lemon or lime. So like starting the morning with this starts moving the qi in the blood and like moving the qi into your brain, helps move the liver qi. So it like starts that processing mechanism and moving hormones in and out. Warm water with lemon or lime. For qi, arugula, watercress, romaine, spinach, garlic, scallion, mild spice. So like a chili pepper or like a kind of Korean spice, like gochujang, like anything red, like a red spice. And green tea. And spleen qi. So spleen qi is the organs, like the digestive mechanism. So there's like stomach digestion, which is like actually breaking down the food. The spleen qi is what helps bring the nutrients into the blood. And spleen qi is also in charge of miscarriage prevention, keeping blood in the vessels and holding up the qi, like raising the qi up when you are pregnant. So spleen qi specifically is what we want to target through food to help with getting pregnant, sustaining pregnancy, and the birthing process. and getting baby enough nutrients so baby can grow. So spleen shea has its own category because it's so important. Spleen shea, ginger, which is in our tea, root vegetables such as Japanese sweet potato, the light yellow ones, sweet potato, taro, rice in kanji form, which we'll go over, curries, like Indian curries, Japanese curries, like curry powder, cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower, and grade A maple syrup. So very specific, right? We're looking at food like medicine. So we're looking at these individual ingredients, and they each have their own medicinal quality, which we're not going to get into each, but we're picking the best of the best, the most powerful per category. So my challenge for you would be pick the ones you like from every list and maybe go for like one veggie, one protein, a good oil, and then like a starch. So you could do like my go-to is maybe some beef with a side soup of miso with quinoa and some green beans, or like whatever's on sale at Whole Foods or like whatever grocery store you go to, and just pick a protein, some vegetables, and a good base. And you can make so many recipes like just with these ingredients. And if you don't pick these specific ingredients, just add a couple of them to your meal, any meal every day, just so you're getting these tonic foods, like these tonic foods in to work on these categories. But yeah, it's gonna get really fun. Like there's so much you can do. I think oatmeal actually like gluten-free oatmeal should be in the spleen shea category. I might fix that. But you can do oatmeal with syrup and pumpkin seed, like some cinnamon. But yeah, as long as you're increase your intake of some of these foods, preferably like diverse within the category. So a couple from Jing, a couple from Yin, Yang, spleen qi, and qi, and start making recipes incorporating these ingredients. That's so amazing. Like this is medicine. These are ingredients, but it's also medicine that is so fertility boosting and pregnancy boosting when you are pregnant. The avoid list. So we want to increase our intake of good things. So 80% of our diet should be within this category, should be healthy, good things you would find in the wild. And you want to avoid canola oil, vegetable oil, corn oil. These oils, when you heat them, they collapse. Like the chemistry chain, like, if you look at a chemistry chain where it shows kind of like the electrons and whatever, when you heat up these specific oils, it shatters. It just cannot handle high oils. And we do heat them up pretty high for like fried foods and stuff. And those shards from the cellular compound of these oils start ripping into your blood vessels, ripping into your lining, into your muscles, and it causes a huge amount of inflammation. Also increases your cholesterol because your bad cholesterol comes out to patch up the damage that these oils are doing. So it's a lot deeper than like, oh, these oils are bad for you, they're inflammatory. They're inflammatory because they're basically like turning into shards of glass and free radicals and like harming your actual tissue and causing a lot of like friction and inflammation in the body. So canola oil, vegetable oil, corn oil, I want to start reading your labels and just avoiding them as much as you possibly can. Fourth is refined sugar. We all know this. Sugar is a big, like the white processed sugar is really hard on the brain. It's basically it works like as a drug when it comes to the nervous system, and it's a big hormone disruptor. Like if your estrogen, FSH are starting to rise and they're waiting for like the ovaries to listen and pick up on it, and you're eating a lot of sugar and it's like causing all this more like adrenaline, cortisol to release into the body, that can really weaken that communication network. So we want the hormones, we call it the neuroendocrine axis. So the way the brain can talk all the way to the ovaries through the nervous system. And we want that communication pathway to be like really quiet, really peaceful, so they can orchestrate with each other and get the job done. Sugar is probably like the number one disruptor of that. And it's super inflammatory. Just makes everything inflame and get really like red and not happy. Animal products with antibiotics or added hormones. So stick with grass-fed proteins, so grass-fed animals, and pasture-raised are the best. Excess dairy from soft cheeses. So if you want cheese, you want to stick to like Parmesans, like the hard cheeses, or goat cheese. Goat cheese is pretty alkaline, or hard cheese is made of goat or sheep, etc. So like mozzarella, the like melted mozzarella cheese, Gouda, provolone, those kind of cheeses are very mucousy. And like dairy itself, like if you're drinking whole milk a lot, it turns into kind of like Elmer's glue. Like, Elmer's glue from like kindergarten when it gets into the stomach. And then the body has to work so hard and like push like that, the intestinal nerves to push that Elmer's glue out of the body. We get mucus buildup in the organs, more inflammation. So just to keep everything really clean and like functioning smoothly, we want to lower dairy if we're like big dairy people. So at least soft dairies, like rule that out, lean more towards the hard ones, which Parmesan's delicious. I don't know if you like put a little bit of Parmesan on everything. I think that's all you really need. And then like coconut milks, coconut yogurts. That's a really good alternative to like whole milk. If you want your 20% to have your yogurts, like Greek yogurts and regular yogurts, that's fine too. There's like low dairy content in that anyways, and probiotics are great. So use your intuition. MSG, and so natural flavors. MSG in excess or in general, it is technically in like a neurotoxic category. We want to avoid that, again, for communication with our hormones, for the nervous system. It's inflammatory and it messes directly with the brain itself. So avoiding things that say natural flavors or MSG. Genetically modified food, so anything with GMOs. If you're buying non-organic, to really rinse it well or like soak it in some baking soda before putting it into the fridge or cooking. Just avoiding GMOs. It's really, really hard on the thyroid. It's really hard on the gut. And there's a lot of, again, communication pathways between those. So yeah, I can get into that a lot, but just staying away from GMOs. Try to buy organic. If you can't buy organic, rinsing really well with some baking soda. Less than 200 milligrams of caffeine daily. If you can shoot for less, like less than 100, it would be better. 200 is like the fertility standard. Like the doctors agree, the studies agree. In my opinion, it's still a little high. Like that's a really high dose of caffeine. Starting to gauge down to 100 would be better, because when you're pregnant, you have to kind of lower it even more so anyways. So experimenting with like counting your caffeine intake if you are a caffeine person, maybe breaking it up throughout the day or switching your form of like coffee. Like if you're doing a lot of espresso, maybe going to black. If you're doing like 3 cups of black, go to green or black tea, things like that. So getting more intentional about your caffeine intake. Eliminating alcohol and eliminating wheat. So again, 80-20, like whatever you want in your 20% for the week or for your daily life or habits. But excess wheat is pretty inflammatory. It's not good for the blood sugar. It really spikes high and then drops. So making sure you're not like bread heavy or like gluten heavy in your everyday life. Like treat bread maybe like for 1 meal a day or like special occasions. And alcohol especially for special occasions. If you're like a habitual drinker, as in having more than 2 or 3 drinks a week, to start kind of thinking on that, coming back down to 1 a week or to none, and finding an alternative. Pretty inflammatory as well, and it's hard on the liver, which we really need liver to like work on processing our hormones properly, modulating, getting toxins out, really important for fertility, and it affects our brain. So like our brain function and our hormone centers of our brain significantly as well. So yeah, if alcohol is a big staple in your life, definitely taking a look, and wheat as well. Here's some alternatives. So again, I'm not telling you like, do this diet, this is the best diet, you have to do this diet. No, we're intuitively eating, we're incorporating good things, eliminating bad things. We're eating like wild people. That's the diet. But let's say you're really sensitive to foods. Like you've tried so many different things. Like you're looking at this list and you're trying different things and it's still activating like autoimmune issues or severe digestive issues, which these are all pretty neutral and like healing foods that should help with anything like that. But something that I've recommended to patients and seen some pretty cool results with is eating for your blood type. There is an app on your phone where you can like look at the blood type that you have and the foods recommended and the foods to avoid. So for really, really sensitive, like allergies, digestive issues, autoimmune issues, hives, rashes, eczema, I don't know, like a really sensitive person and allergic to food, check it out. Eat for your blood type, see how you like it, and then see if any coincide with this list so you can be a little more picky with what you're putting in, so you don't have like crazy histamine responses. But the tea should help with that. Fertility tea if you're doing your fertility tea. If you're super overwhelmed, right, and you're just getting started on looking at diet, a cool start is Whole30 and avoiding the no foods. So Whole30 is really big in like the fertility world and like IVF patients. And it's very simple. It's basically getting you started on looking at food as like just eating whole foods. So picking like one protein, a vegetable, and a base, and like building your diets like that. And there's so many resources around it, like recipes and people who've done it for a while. So you can have more of like a community to like get more inspiration and ideas if you don't really know where to start, or you're not like a big cook or things like that. So starting with Whole30 and avoiding no foods if you're really overwhelmed and like diet is like has been really stressful for you. Or simply just eat mostly meats, vegetables, sweet potatoes, lentils, rice, and fruit as the core of your diet. So just really starting small, buying like one ingredient at a time so you don't get like all these ingredients and they go bad so you don't really know how to use them, etc. And focus on lots of variety of colors on your plate. So just starting small if you're just starting your journey with like looking at how you eat. 80-20 rule again, and just really thinking of what whole foods are. So like foods that are very like simple staples, like meat, vegetable, potatoes, meat, vegetables, lentils, meat, vegetables, rice, etc. And like fruit as snacks. If you don't have a steamer, I highly recommend investing in a steamer basket. Steaming food, like steaming your vegetables, it helps release the medicinal quality of them so much more. So it's turning them into like, it's really releasing their minerals, their vitamins or nutrients. Every vegetable is high in vitamins and nutrients. Depending on how you cook it, depends on how much it comes out. So for fertility, for health, for getting ready for pregnancy, I'm a big fan of just throwing veggies in the steamer and like just letting them steam, taking them out, and that's like your side of veggies. So you can steam frozen or fresh veggies along with whatever protein you're eating for dinner. It is so easy. Like ever since starting this, like learning about this, like you come home from work, you just put the water, put the little basket, and I just like go to my frozen drawer and just dump like Brussels sprouts, broccoli, like whatever open bags I have. And then I go take a, like, you know, a shower, come back, and dinner's done. It's like, it is so cool. So yeah, they have these ones where you put them on top and you can like, it's like more domed. So you can even put like, maybe this next slide has it. Yeah, like you can put a whole salmon or eggs and chicken, and the dome top, like you can like pack more food in there, and your whole meal is just cooked in a steam basket. Steamed vegetables and like they're called like clay steamed meals are really big in China. You kind of like put ginger in there and garlic, and it like proliferates into the meat. It's more of a bland flavor, but that's really healthy. You can drizzle some olive oil at the end and some like, you know, whatever spices you like. And it's just so healthy. Like this is maybe the healthiest way of eating, and it just feels so innocent and so like fun to just come up with different ingredients. So yeah, steaming as a modality of cooking, can't recommend it more. You get way more out of the food that you're buying for your health. So you're investing a lot in healthy food, and you really want to make sure like the vitamins and medicinal qualities of, you know, what you're cooking is really getting in there. So for fertility, for pregnancy, very, very, very beneficial. Stewing as another form of cooking, very, very healthy, very fertility friendly. Basically, you just saute some ingredients together as a base in a large pot. You add water or broth, and you cook it for a low temperature for over an hour. So there's so many recipes. I love recommending for fertility to look for postpartum stew recipes, and make a big one and then store it for the week. So specifically postpartum stew recipes are designed to be so nourishing, right? Because these women, like we give birth, and like there's so many cultural stews that are given to a postpartum mother to help with like lactation, with helping their hormones, with building their blood, with warming them. So that kind of applies to what we're trying to do right now to get ready for a pregnancy. So postpartum stews are like my favorite to get from, and it could be anything. Like every culture, every city, state, country, everybody has a stew. Or ask your grandma, like, do you have a good stew recipe? Oh, do you remember that stew you made for me when I was a kid? Can I have that recipe? Just starting to stew it up on the weekends and then like meal prep them for the week. So easy too if you're busy, because like big portions. So here's an example of what that can look like. You kind of just like make a base. So it's like onion, garlic, maybe a root vegetable, celery. I think this is like a French thing. I forget what it's called, but a lot of stews start with this. And then you just like take it out. Or no, it starts with the meat. So you like saute your meat, take the meat out, you add your base of veggies, and then like let it darken on the bottom. I think some red wine in there to like deglaze the bottom, which in this case, red wine is actually medicinal because it's being cooked down into like that sugar and releasing the bottom for flavor. That's like evaporates all the alcohol, so that's fine. And then add your potatoes, put a top on it, and then sometimes you can put it in the oven for like 3 hours or something, and the meat is like fall apart, so delicious. It has like those really healthy fats and collagen. If you have bones in the meat, you're going to notice your skin's going to get better. Your hormones are better. You have more energy. You're basically decocting like vitamins from all of this food and making the most of it. So stewing is so medicinal. Stewing and steaming. If you can get a lot of your meals this way, the best for fertility, and delicious. So get yourself a good steamer and get yourself like a nice, like what are these? Dutch ovens. They're like cast iron with a nice enamel. And like sky's the limit, truly. And you'll feel, it's wonderful. Like, and don't stop when you get pregnant. When you're pregnant, keep it going because the baby will be so nutrient dense and happy. No more microwaves. Microwave kills the life and chi of the food. You're radiating it. I can get into this deeper, but the frequency of a microwave, it just sterilizes the food. Like, what's the point of buying nice food when you reheat it? It's just, yeah. So for lunch, if like you eat away from home, I recommend electric lunch boxes. So you plug it in like 20-25 minutes, your food's really hot. I personally use this one for work. I'll put my little stew or soup in there and then plug it in. And by lunchtime, it's like maybe too hot sometimes. So you'll get the hang of it. But really great for warming your food, and it keeps the medicinal property of your food alive. Air fryer is okay. Oven and stovetop okay too. Just warm it up in a pan. Like if you have leftovers, just put it in a pan, warm it up. Air fryer is just fine, and oven. We want to keep our food alive. We don't want to like nuke it and sterilize it and maybe even like mutate some of the cells in it that make it actually like unhealthy. So definitely no more microwaves. If you like, we have a microwave in our place and I don't even think I've ever opened it. If somebody like is microwaving, I just feel intuitively like I want to stand away from it. Like people who stand in front of a microwave and are staring at it, it really freaks me out because it's like just the EMFs of it and the radiation. And I've seen people test the EMFs off microwaves with that little device and it's just like sky high. I don't want anything to do with microwaves when it comes to like hormone health and fertility and like just trying to get pregnant in general. So date nights and eating out ideas, it is inevitable. Like we have to have our girls' nights. We have to have our date nights with our husband. Like, I don't want you guys to be like, sorry, I can't come. I need to eat at home. Like, no, go have fun. If you have a saying in where you can go, we can actually find some medicinal properties in other places that kind of are the same vibe in what we're doing at home. So for date nights, eating out ideas, like what we do is we aim more towards Mediterranean restaurants. Korean barbecue, so fun. It's literally just like protein, veggies, and dips. Like if you can find it a nice one to go to and like ask for help one time where they can guide you how it works, you'll be a pro. Super easy. Korean stews. So going to a Korean restaurant and ordering, they have a ton of stews you can pick from. A good start is one called galbitang. Galbitang is not spicy. It's really bland, not bland, but it's like there's no peppers to it. It's just like a short rib meat with vegetables, with greens. It's so delicious. If you don't feel like cooking and you want to go out and like you're craving, something somewhat medicinal and warm and like fertile, the galbitang is a really good go-to. For celebrations, we love hot pot. Hot pot is like a big soup base, and then you get to pick what vegetables or what meats you want to put in it. And then it's a really good time. Definitely like look it up before you go. But hot pot is up there with like that soup, warming, fertility friendly intention. Sushi, miso soups, and seaweed salads. So like if you have to order lunch, leaning within this category is really great. It's so balanced, like Japanese cuisine, like the authentic Japanese cuisine is so healthy. It's so intentional, so like genius, honestly. I wish we had more access to the deep, good Japanese food. Ramen's really fun. Again, not every day or like a staple in your diet, but yeah, ramen is like a lesser evil if you're eating out. Barbecue, again, lesser evil. Don't eat this every day, but if it's date night fun, barbecue's great. Order the traditional briskets, not those sugary, like Texas style, dense sauces, if that makes sense. Like the traditional ones are more like vinegar based sauces. Chicken salads if you're in a pinch, Mexican food if you're in a pinch, like rice, beans, veggies, protein, traditional tacos like those corn tortilla ones, If you can find a good Mexican place nearby, if you're working or, eating out like from home, you can really rely on that for those tough times you got to eat out. Indian food, so fun, so delicious. Curry is in that, spleen chi category. Their meats are cooked low temperature, long time. That helps stay young, balanced, right? You have the starch, you have the protein, you have a little rice on the side. Really fun and delicious. Again, not every day. This isn't the medicine. I would much prefer you guys to pick from your food therapy list and cook at home. But yeah, go on your date nights, get some Indian food with your partner. So delicious. Pho, I would call pho medicinal, honestly, if it's authentic. If you can find a good restaurant that doesn't use MSG, and you can tell if there's MSG in it. Honestly, after you eat it, you'll feel kind of flushed. You'll just feel kind of hot in the hands, kind of like a niacin flesh. Yeah, you can try to find a restaurant that does not use MSG in their broth. It's a bone broth. It's cooked for hours. It has brisket in it. It has cilantro. It's actually so medicinal. The balance of it, the basil moves the qi. The onion tones the qi. The bone broth is very jing. It's the briskets for the jing and yang. Pho is a beautiful example of how cultures have figured this out. How we can put ingredients together to create a really harmonious balance in things. This one's one of my favorites are summer rolls. If I'm late at work, I'm hungry, I didn't bring lunch today, I'll order a couple summer rolls from this Vietnamese restaurant nearby. It's rice paper and it has noodle, a rice noodle in it with a protein and some greens. And I think shrimp. Yeah, I don't really remember, but it is so just a good get you through snack that's not that bad for you. So yeah. Again, I'm not implying these things are healing. If you eat these things, this is a fertility-friendly diet. But these type of cooking are more balanced when eating out is inevitable. So community, socialization, connecting is healing in its own right and feeds the shen. Going out with your coworkers for lunch, that feeds the spirit, the shen. We want to have fun. We want to be feminine. We cannot come at this from a masculine way. The masculine way is which is their superpower. That's what makes men, more testosterone driven 24-hour cycles, is very disciplined, same thing every day, really go for a goal with force. Our way of doing things, the feminine way, is intuitive. We have to apply what works for our life, what part of our cycle we're on. We really need our heart open. We need community. So if you have to eat out, great list here. Remember 80-20 rule. Don't forget to live your life and enjoy when opportunity calls. Simply balance any unhealthy things with a green drink, a tea, or your next meal being a healthy one. So if you do go too far and, little fried food, hamburger, funnel cake, I don't know, really a donut. Donuts, I think, is the worst, absolute worst thing you can do. Oh my God, fried bread and sugar. It is so bad. But yeah, let's say you do go too far. Just the next thing you do, alkaline it with a green drink, balance it at night with a nice steamed vegetable. You'll start noticing you feel so much better. And when you feel really good and then you do something that makes you not feel good, you're already subconsciously training yourself to not crave the bad things. It just happens. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to do something or not do something. If you start eating from this list and eating these delicious ancestral things and avoiding the bad things, when you do the bad things, you're not going to feel good. You're going to be groggy. You're going to be tired. You might get a stomach ache. You're going to start realizing we've been functioning from not a good place. When you start eating healthy and you won't crave the bad things as much. But let it happen naturally. Don't push yourself too hard. Just start eating good things and see how it unfolds. And when you're pregnant, do not stop. When you're pregnant, yeah, 80-20 rule. If you have cravings, go for it. But stick with this through pregnancy and you will have a wonderful experience. And alcohol. So alcohol should be limited or avoided if you are a habitual drinker already. So if you're already drinking 1 to 2 drinks every week, that type of person, let's start limiting and avoiding because it has been kind of like used more often. Avoid, especially in your luteal phase, so the luteal to menstrual phase, to allow your hormones to do their thing without strain. We want your progesterone to rise to sustain the egg and to feed the egg and to keep it alive. And if there is a pregnancy going on, that progesterone helps keep that growing. It's so important, that connection, that the brain is uninterrupted and it can absorb the progesterone. The progesterone could distribute to the lining. The HCG is registered properly. Your estrogen levels are rising, so your lining can thicken. There's like a very beautiful symphony going on, and we don't want alcohol in there, like dulling the senses and maybe messing up with that communication. So from luteal to menstrual, definitely avoid alcohol if you can. It's best avoided in general if you have any inflammatory issues, high histamine or PCOS. So inflammatory issues, I'd put endometriosis or adenomyosis in here. In high histamine is like you have a lot of allergies. Like if you get bit by a bug, it gets really red. Like you see that big like red ring around it. If you get hives, definitely avoid it. It's just going to add to the fire and make the body go too far one way where it's going to take a little longer to bring it back to a baseline. If you have to drink, you're out, which again, 80-20 rule, use your intuition. These are the lesser evils. So if you have to drink, again, I don't want anyone like, I just took this course and she said it's okay to drink. No, this is like, if you're at a wedding, you're at a special event, anniversary, the lesser evils is red wine. Imported is best. The imported, I can get into this, but just, red wine, imported is best. Like European wines. Sake is more anti-inflammatory. It's definitely like a different mechanism with the alcohol. So definitely better. Tequila, which so fun, right? Tequila, like with ice, tequila and what is that? Like tonic, tequila with like a little lemon. The way it's distilled and like the plant itself, the tequila plant that, I don't know, they ferment to make it, is more anti-inflammatory. It's easier on the brain. It's more of a heart tonic. So it like opens the heart, slightly psychedelic, which controversial. I'm not going to get into it, but tequila is definitely a lesser evil alcohol. And roasted malt and barley heavy beers. So German Dunkels, like that really dark pigmented beer with the foamy top, and Guinness, which imported would be better. Guinness, the Guinness they allow here is a little different. More medicinal, no, I'm not gonna use medicinal, but better, lesser evil alcohol than the rest. Not medicinal. Barley, like by itself is medicinal, like for the spleen and for the yin. But yeah, when it's fermented, it's a whole different form. So drinking's inevitable. Drink, have fun. It's okay. 80-20 rule. Make sure your next day is more alkaline. It's like better wild foods. You're going back to wild human. It's spiritual to have your shen, your spirit open. It's spiritual to do these things in the right setting through celebration and through love. If you're drinking because you feel bad about yourself, or like, I don't know, there's like this whole trend of like girl dinner where we're sad and we do the TV dinner and we get the glass of wine. Like if you're doing it in that energy, no, like we want to break that cycle. We want to replace these things with better habits and better mentality, better emotional health, but in celebration and love and family and friends, Have fun. 80-20 rule. Caffeine. So less than 200 milligrams a day is the kind of like announcement in studies, but that is still very high when considering adrenal health. So we want to shoot lower than that. The lesser evils with caffeine, so something to maybe experiment with. I drink caffeine every day. Like, I need it. I work long days. I see a lot of patients, and I'm my better self when I have caffeine. I've tried to stop, like cold turkey, and the headaches, the level of adrenaline I needed to use to accomplish the goals in my day, because I'm like working a little like high functioning adult, it outweighed the benefit of actually drinking some caffeine to help me. So again, intuition, right? Like, it's important to weigh the pros and cons. Like, if you're used to caffeine to accomplish your goals and it gives you that extra boost to do these things, and you're not using your adrenaline, like, like weigh the pros and cons. But instead of like hitting coffee really hard or just getting those 200 milligrams from the get-go, you can experiment with lower doses and different herbs or different forms of the caffeine. So guayasa, which guayasa is actually in Ecuador used by the shamans because it has this like kind of relaxing effect, but also has like a type of caffeine that feels stronger than it is. So it's really cool. And it's also used for fertility, like on its own, which I've researched it, and like in indigenous culture, it's considered like a fertility tonic. So something to experiment with. It's really nice. I use it, like I drink that one often. I find it to be spiritually elevating. So when working with patients, or if you work with people, it's like a better state. Yerba mate is kind of like guayasa. It's just a little higher in caffeine content. White tea, very, very low caffeine content, but a little higher than the yerba mate. Green tea, which is very, very medicinal. Like, if you can have like 2 cups of green tea a day, like 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, and you can get by with that, beautiful. Like, you're getting great benefits from the L-theanine in there, from the antioxidants. Really amazing fertility tonic as well. I'd call it medicinal and good level of caffeine to help you if you're a caffeine driven person. Matcha is probably a step higher than that. Matcha is like the whole green tea plant. You can make like matcha lattes. Good for hormone health. L-theanine does have caffeine, so not to abuse it, right? Like, maybe a strong matcha in the morning and like a little white tea in the afternoon. You can experiment with different ones. The level up would be the black tea, so like an English breakfast or black tea, and coffee. So coffee, 1 cup a day is fine, right? Organic and mycotoxin free is what's really important with it. Coffee bean is really prone to growing mold. So a lot of these like low quality coffee beans are a little like extra inflammatory because it's also kind of moldy, and it's really, really hard like industrially to produce coffee bean and transport it and like do the things you need to do to prevent the mold, like tiny micro molds, from growing on it. So just, there's like brands out there that are mycotoxin free, tested, organic. Really try to stick to that. If you are drinking coffee, try to add a small amount of coconut oil, olive oil, or butter to it. So a little oil to help sustain the release of caffeine. So that way you're drinking 1 cup, and it's not like it metabolizes really quick and then crashes, because that's not good for the adrenals, right? But if you add an oil to it to anchor the caffeine and help the brain metabolize it a little slower, it's actually more medicinal, more beneficial to you. So you can drink less caffeine, but it's sustained at a nice level through the day, then slowly comes down so you're not crashing, thus protecting your adrenals. So like experimenting with this. There's so much information on these, but I would stick to this list and do these little hacks to just not like, yeah, double shot espresso with a pump of vanilla and whatever that Starbucks order is, like that's kind of a problem. That's way too high. Just being mindful about the milligrams, which you can look up, like what milligrams is this much of this, and start kind of hacking your caffeine milligram intake so you can kind of dose it better through the day, protect your adrenals, but you don't have to give it up completely. Like you don't have to go from caffeine every day to 0, because that's not good either. That's not good on the adrenals. If you're functioning higher than someone who stays at home and has a slow morning, slow day, like not too much work kind of person. So if you have PCOS and your PCOS is more metabolic, so this is like you've been told BMI is too high. This is rooted from like a blood sugar situation, like a metabolic issue, which usually this is where metformin comes in for this type of PCOS. They give it out to every type of PCOS, but this is the one where, yeah, it's like blood sugar is spiking high and low all day. And that like the insulin, cortisol communication is like hurting the adrenals and then thus the hormones. So if you're in this category, use the food list, but focus on high protein, low carb. So instead of like rice and sweet potatoes, like a starchy base, more protein, more vegetables, and very little carbs. The most important thing is starting the day with a high protein, 0 carb breakfast. So you want to start the day with like something really high in protein. So maybe like a good yogurt with some toppings, like a good like meat-based breakfast. So like a couple eggs, like a little thin steak, which I know sounds like counterintuitive, but studies are showing that like more protein, high fats in the morning for metabolic issues is more beneficial. Again, if you try to starve yourself, you are going to end up putting on more nutrition. Like, so what does that mean? If your goal is to lose weight and you're trying to like lower your portions and you're hungry all the time, your body thinks you're in this survival mode. So your next meal, the body is going to be like, okay, she made me in like a starving situation. Is she stranded on a desert? Let's stash this food for her because we don't know when her next meal is going to be. She's hungry. So like starving or lowering your portions is actually going to contribute more to weight gain than it does to weight loss. If you work on your adrenal health and your stress and your fight or flight and your cortisol and relax, that mechanism so the body feels safe, it knows it's getting another meal, it's not in a survival situation. When you eat, it's not going to store it as much, and it's actually going to burn more of what you already have, raise your metabolism, because you're not in a situation where you have to like slow your metabolism down to preserve and survive. So if that makes sense, just basically trick your body into understanding you are safe, you're not starving on an island, you're not being chased by black bears. Like cortisol and adrenaline wise, you will lose the weight. So this course, the foundation in this is the adrenals, the nourishing, the chi, preserving your jing. If you are higher BMI, you will notice weight loss. So when you get healthier, the healthier you get, a side effect of that is weight loss, because your body is understanding its new baseline and where it really is, and understanding it does not need to hang on to this extra nutrients because it's not needed. So yeah, lunch should be a moderate size. So breakfast and lunch should be your biggest meals, like large volume, like vegetable, high protein, and then a nice snack around 4. This is for your cortisol and your blood sugar. And then a light dinner, so like a salad for dinner, like a side, like just a vegetable platter. And yeah, I'll probably make a PDF where this makes more sense. But breakfast and lunch, big protein, big vegetable, just start the day strong, a snack around 4, and then a light dinner. Avoiding wheat and dairy is critical. So no gluten, no wheat, no dairy. If you're going to do yogurts, coconut yogurts, or like a good plant milk, that's like, you know, the ingredients are not crazy. And most meals should be meat and vegetables. So protein and vegetables, protein and vegetables. Breakfast and lunch, big portions. And don't be afraid of that. Your big portions don't mean like higher BMI. Big portions are training your body to understand, I'm going to get fed. I don't have to stash all of this nutrients. Never skip breakfast. Never skip breakfast. For PCOS, for this category of person, blood sugar regulation is number one. So the big breakfast, big lunch, snack around 4. Snacking through the day is okay. Like a little, like just a nice healthy peanut butter, like carrots, celery, a good fruit, nuts, just snacking through the day, like grazing like you're a wild human. Stabilize the blood sugar, and you'll notice huge quick results. Like it's pretty magical. So I'll format this into a better like printout PDF kind of thing. But yeah, this is only if you're in this category, okay? So like PCOS, metabolic, everybody should focus on their blood sugar, like stabilizing through the day. Everyone can actually use this. Like anybody can base their eating from this. But if you are in the PCOS archetype, we want to take this very seriously, and we really do want to look at the portions for the morning and the lunch being large and the dinner being small. And when you're back to a great baseline, you will feel great. You'll look like in the mirror and notice like more of yourself. You'll notice a difference. Then you can kind of transition into like even portions through the day. And again, number one rule, do not be hungry. Graze, snack, do not be hungry, because then your blood sugar is going to crash. Next time you eat, it's going to skyrocket. And then that cortisol insulin communication is going to be a mess. And then the hormones will be a mess. And then you're going to be stuck in that follicular phase. And then the cyst come. So yeah, the root of all evil, do not be hungry, stabilize, and just eat good foods, be a wild human. These are foundational supplements. So not everybody, but majority of people I treat who are unexplained infertility, preparing for a pregnancy, been trying for a while, hasn't been working, even if they're just now starting to try, these are the things I like to put them on. So vitamin D3, very important, a prenatal, omega-3s, and a kidney tonic. So in addition to the fertility tea, taking cordyceps or royal jelly, picking one that you resonate with to add an extra level of protection and tonification for the kidneys, because that is the fertility capacity and the treasure for fertility. So we want to do everything we can to help the kidneys. 600 to 900 milligrams of NAC and greens powder. So these supplements, just to take them in addition to your tea, to your food therapy, to all the things that you've kind of are going to be learning in this module, they each have a very strong indication for preserving fertility, for helping aid the mechanisms that help get pregnant. Hormone balance, it helps nourish the brain, helps extra with the food, like the prenatal will be enhanced by the food to distribute the right nutrients to the lining, to help the hormone systems get the nutrients they need to make hormones, to absorb hormones, the NAC to process out free radicals, to keep the ovaries, the lining, and the tissues like protected and healthy from free radicals or toxins, which there's other mechanisms in your tea that are helping that as well. And a greens powder just for extra alkalinity and extra help with minerals and blood quality, and also getting rid of free radicals as well. So it's a very elegant, very synergetic group. So endometriosis, lining issues, or implantation issues, we recommend 3 milligrams of melatonin, 1,800 milligrams of NAC in divided doses. So that's a lot higher than the general recommended dose, and nattoserozymes. So for I would also say fibroids as well. If you have like a large fibroid or like ultrasound confirmed fibroid, these three things are so helpful. Melatonin has been proven to intelligently deprive any tissue that is building up something that shouldn't be there of capillary blood. So like let's say there's a tumor or a fibroid or endometrial lesions, it helps the immune system realize it's there and then deprive it of blood so it can astringe and work its way out and macrophage so that the lining goes back to normal. Whenever we have a fibroid or endo or like polyps or something that should not be there, it kind of tricks the lining into supplying it blood and nutrients so it can stay alive. Tumors do this as well, like cancer tumors. So melatonin has been proven for cancer tumors as well to help the immune system find these things that shouldn't be there and to deprive them of capillary activity so the immune system can come in and clean it out. It is also a pituitary tonic. So people in IVF take melatonin, especially over 35 years old, because it helps the hormone receptivity and it helps nourish hormones and the parts of the brain that are responsible for accepting and releasing hormones. It also helps thicken the lining, like helps with the circulation in the lining. Very famous in IVF for transfers. It helps increase transfer success to a much higher rate, especially in women over 35. So 1,800 milligrams of NAC in divided doses is particularly so important for endometriosis. If you have endometriosis or adenomyosis or suspect endometriosis, 1,800 milligrams specifically of NAC has been studied and proven to astringe and shrink endometriosis lesions. NAC specifically also helps establish the boundaries between the inner lining, the middle lining, and the outer lining. So we have 3 levels to our uterine lining, and they're supposed to be like separate from each other, like cellularly. And endometriosis means that the inner lining, so the lining that gets triggered to bleed and has endometrial tissue that can produce blood and like seep blood, makes its way into the middle, and ultimately endometriosis, the outer lining. So the 1,800 milligrams of NAC has been a big breakthrough for helping mitigate the symptoms of endometriosis and actually dissolving and astringing and getting, dare I say, rid of them, depending on the size. If they're really small, it can do a great job at cleaning it up. NAC is also proven to help egg quality just due to its impact on like the liver and glutathione and how that cleans up free radicals and hormone debris and cellular debris that can like hinder and hurt egg quality in the ovaries. For endometriosis, lining issues, implantation issues, nautocerezymes. Nautocerezymes does have a small blood thinning effect, so if you're on blood thinners, avoid it. But nautocerezymes help the lining inside become stickier and help the estrogen modulation into the lining attract the embryo better for implantation. So I actually use this for endometriosis as well. It does soften the lesions and helps the immune system get rid of them. It's really good for lining quality. You can either take the supplement or increase your intake of natto, the food, but the supplement is better because it is synergized with like the proper ratios and the form to really get into that lining and help with implantation. If you have PCOS or irregular cycle, stick to your herbs that we went through already. For sure, take your herbs every day. There's that modification in there that will help very much, but myo-inositol is a non-negotiable. If you have PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, confirmed with cyst, any irregular cycle, long cycles, or you're in just any category within the PCOS realm, myo-inositol is nicknamed the great stabilizer in our medicine because it helps keep the ovaries anti-inflamed It helps intelligently with the metabolic, like insulin hormone connection, and it helps regulate the cycles from a very nourishing way. So there's so much research on this. You can like rabbit hole all night, but myo-inositol, specifically, not just inositol, but this form for PCOS is a non-negotiable. So if you have egg quality concerns or you're over 35, especially over 35, this is something I put everybody on NAD or CoQ10 300 milligrams or more, although NAD lately has been having profound effects. This became really famous in the last couple years. IVF clinics are starting to infuse this because it just has such a profound effect on the egg quality itself. So like the integrity of the membrane, the way the cells proliferate, and the environment that supports the egg coming out and doing what it's supposed to do. So reverse aging hormonally, like in your hormone systems, in your lining, and the mechanisms that help your egg arrive, is magic for stopping like any progression in fertility decay and actually reversing it into a place where you can have more time to try and to produce good eggs. There's actually a really cool study. So NAD was given to menopausal rats, and it helped with, so mitochondrial fission and fusion mechanisms are the way cells are created and replicated. And I'm not going to try to like translate this, but basically these rats were in menopause and they were middle-aged. They weren't ovulating anymore, like they were towards the end, which can show like the egg reserves are coming to a close, the hormones are not fluctuating anymore, that feedback loop is starting to decline. They were given NAD, and it proved that their age was reversing. Like the cells were starting to proliferate a lot healthier. They were starting to ovulate on time. They were having more follicles, so like more AMH, because the AMH comes from the follicles, like folliculation capacity. They're actually growing like corpus luteums. And it was really incredible because they were like of childbearing age again. So it ultimately showed that with ovarian aging, that disrupts the LH and FSH balance because of aging and like the cells not coming out and proliferating at a younger age. Like we all age, and that declines our fertility. We consider that NAD, so these are the parts that make up NAD, may be used as a drug or supplement for reduction of aging-induced folliculogenesis or ovulation problems. So this is definitely, like, in a nutshell, it also applies to people who are aging too fast. I have a patient who she is 45 and she's an IVF, and she did 3 egg retrievals back to back to back. She's exhausted. None of the eggs made it, so she'd get like maybe 4 follicles. 2 of them would make it to blastocyte after fertilization, and then the quality was just not good. Like membrane was weak, the cells wouldn't really you could see the cells were not just like doubling or quadrupling very fast or well. So we decided to take a break, go on NAD, really follow these principles to a T, to reverse age, work on the Jing, work on the adrenals. The NAD was kind of like the leader, the staple with herbs. And her AMH went up, which was shocking. It went from like I think it was like a 0.08 or something like that. And then actually went up to a 1 point something. And we were like, whoa. And she responded really well to the stims. So like the stimulation medicine to make follicles. She made I think it was like 8 follicles or something like that. And then she got 4 eggs, all fertilized. And now she has 4 frozen eggs for transfer, which I use IVF as a great tool to like see how these things are working. because I can compare it to the data I'm seeing from their lab test, from the petri dish of the egg quality. And it's so validating to see it work at this level of like ARTs. That has saved a lot of women's fertility journey. So yeah, egg quality concerns are not a prognosis, and there's so much you can do on top of just the NAD. Like when you pair it with other things, it'll work so much faster. But yeah, so these are foundational supplements. I put this in the food therapy section because you should be getting your nutrients from your food. You can't just do it through supplements. So if you're taking a ton of supplements that you read in a book, like I have so many patients that come to me after reading It Starts With the Egg, Rebecca Fett, and like Cure for Infertility, and like these big books, and they just get put on so many supplements. They just take everything that they think is good for them, but you're not really eating, and your spleen chi is weak, and your digestion is not like warm and assimilating properly. These supplements are just going to go right through you. And they're not synergizing in a way that's actually accomplishing the goal that they are intended to accomplish. So you have to pair it with food in order for bioavailability. You have to pair supplements with food in order to absorb it truly, like into the body, and disperse it into the actual hormone systems, and disperse it into the uterus and the ovaries, if that makes sense. So if you're like, yeah, drinking a cup of coffee and then taking a handful of pills in the morning, those supplements are not, they're not working, and they're not paired properly to be like functional medicine. So this list here is a wonderful foundation. So closing out this chapter, we're going to go over the grandmother laws. So no ice in drinks or ice cream, no excess salads, smoothies, excess raw foods. If you do have salad, smoothies, or raw foods, warm them up with ginger, garlic, pepper, and cinnamon. No excess dairy, so reduce dampness, mucus, and phlegm in the body. Eat what is in season, and eat with the seasons. No skipping meals or depriving yourself of food. And if there is no life force in the food, do not eat it. So processed or prepackaged foods. Like throughout all the translations and the kind of traditional aspects of many cultures, these are the grandmother law. I like to tell people, pretend like these women, like there's just a grandmother on your shoulder. Like there's a grandmother with a hand on your back, like this wise woman who heals the village, who just knows what works. She has like a hand on your back. And when you're making a choice of like what to put in your body or what to eat, or like, what should I have for dinner? Like, what would the grandmother say? Like, she'd probably be like, how about some, vegetables and a nice steak? Or let's make a nice stew. Or how about a yogurt with some cinnamon? I just like to start that inner dialogue and inner voice, and just start kind of thinking like the wise ones, start coming back to our roots. And like these wise women, they have had daughters and sons, and were in charge of kind of facilitating the next generations, and like handed down from them and their grandmother and their grandmother. And the cultures outside of the US, and because we're a big mix, so you really have to find that wisdom, because our society doesn't really have it, and we kind of it'll get lost if we don't search for it and incorporate it into our life. And for your children's sake and their children's sake, it's really good to start thinking this way. But yeah, so yeah, the grandmother laws for diet, very essential, very important. The way you cook things as well, so like the stews, the steams, if you oven roast things, that's great too. Stir fry things, fine. Air fry things, totally fine. But just start being more mindful of that 80-20 rule, putting good things in your body. My favorite one is, if there is no life force to the food, do not eat it. I think just wrapping with that, if there is no life in the food, do not put it in your body. That alone, like eliminating those bad things and that processed food, so you're actually putting in those building blocks that is ultimately going to become your child, and those cells of your food are storing to become your child. you're going to be so well off. When pregnancy happens, keep the route, keep it going. That first trimester especially, and this pregnancy is going to be beautiful. It's going to feel amazing. You're going to feel healthy and strong. And like, we are women. We are women. We are strong. We are meant to be eating more nutritionally than anyone, because we just have a lot going on. And if you feed the right places, this is going to be great. So that was food therapy. There's definitely going to be some bonuses to like expand on some of the things we went over. And yeah, get yourself a nice dinner tonight. Something nourishing, something warm, something with good building blocks. And you guys got this. Really excited to dive in deeper. And yeah, have a great day.